Hi guys, Navid here. Thanks for joining me today. See, we've got 6 people or so. So let me know how long you've been playing oud and what you're working on right now and what you're struggling with. And think of any questions you might have that you want to ask. And today I'm going to talk about holding the oud and how to turn the oud pegs. For anyone who's struggling with oud pegs, this is a big deal that I really want to solve for people right now, because there's nothing worse than hearing from somebody that they don't spend the time learning the oud because the oud pegs are really frustrating for them. So definitely make sure, if you're struggling with oud pegs, this is what you're going to want to see. We've got this oud here. This oud is a Zeryab oud. It goes for about $500 to $600, maybe a bit more depending on where you get it. It's an entry-level kind of oud. These pegs, they look like they're ebony, but they're painted. They're painted black. I think they're like walnut or mahogany or something. And change my volume here. Hopefully this volume's okay. If the volume's low, let me know in the chat. So this is what it looks like here. What I want you to do, if you're having trouble holding the oud when you're tuning it, the best way to do so is to get the oud in between your legs, like this. That way you have a clear line of vision on the oud pegs and which string is which. So you won't be able to confuse and then tune the other peg and it's not the right peg that you want it to turn. So this is very important. Hold the oud between your legs like this. You take your left hand and hold here, and then so that with this thumb here, this left hand thumb, you can isolate each individual string and you can pluck it and you can adjust it. And the left hand simultaneously supports the neck so that you can push the peg in as much as you need to or loosen it as much as you need to. Because you're either going to be suffering from one of two things. Your peg is too loose or it's too tight. If it's too loose, what you need to do, you get the string loose and then you pluck it and you turn it. Keep plucking so you can hear how much the note is changing. And then you match it with your tuner, the note that you're trying to do. But you want to push and turn at the same time if your peg is too loose. If the peg is not staying, then you got to push it a bit more. So you may want to loosen it and then continue to turn and push, tighten and push. And match the other string you're trying to get. This is the second string, which is in tune. Now pluck the first string you're trying to tune. Still a little bit flat. Usually you'd be using your digital tuner. So you get your tuner in front of you at the same time and make sure that you can see the tuner and that the tuner can hear the note that you're plucking with your thumb. So this oud is tuned low. It's tuned to a B. So it's right on. So my other string here is too tight, so I'm going to loosen it. And it got pretty loose there, so I want to push it in and turn it a little bit. You always got to keep plucking the string to compare it to the first one. If the peg gets too tight, then you want to pull it out a little bit. You want to unwind it just a little bit, pull it out, get that right, just the right spot. You want to do some fine adjustments. Another thing you can do to make tuning easier is to take a cloth. Take a cloth and then hold the peg with the cloth as you tune. That way you'll take the pressure off your fingers and it'll be easier to tune. That's a bit annoying because you turning all these pegs with a cloth is a bit annoying, but nevertheless, that's what I would do if I were you. Days when I change strings on my oud, that's what I do. I tend to use a cloth to turn the pegs because it really takes a lot of energy out of my fingers and really hurts after a while. So that's what I would do. So this is how you do it. You want to. The oud is switched around right now, so usually you'd have it turned around like this, so that you can see everything and you can tune it. But for the sake of demonstration, I've got the oud in between my legs right now, preferably sitting on the ground, or the butt of the oud is sitting on the ground, and you want to isolate each string and turn and find the note that you're looking for. This one, tuning it to a F sharp. So you can pluck each individual string with your index finger or your thumb, whichever direction you're holding. As you can see, all my strings are all kind of mixed up. They're all in different places where you wouldn't usually have them on different pegs, but today, because I was experimenting with this oud over the last couple months, different strings, putting different strings on it. Some strings were too short, so I had to put them in different places. But anyway, that is my two-handed technique for tuning the oud. Make sure you can see exactly what string, what peg, because a lot of people spend time tuning and they realize, oh, they've been tuning the wrong peg, or they've been turning the wrong peg. So holding it like this is the best to have the right support. What it helps is to support the neck, so you don't damage the oud, and keeps you on track. And it's the best way to control the pegs. When you tune like this, there's nothing supporting the neck, so it's hard to push in, and you can damage the oud. Another way that you can do it, once you get more comfortable tuning your oud, is to, for the upper strings, you can lay the strings down on your leg, or the peg box on your leg here, and then that way you can push and turn more easily, supporting the oud on the other leg here. For the pegs on the bottom, that's a bit harder. That takes a bit more experience. But what I do is I use my thumb to push and turn. Sometimes when I loosen, I have to take my thumb off because I need my thumb support there. But that's what I do when I tune the oud. But if I'm really having a hard time with tuning the oud, then I may actually tune the oud like this, putting it between my legs and supporting it on the ground, and then plucking each string and turning each peg that you need to turn. That way is the easiest way, and that's the way that I think any beginner should do it, no matter what. Don't waste your time tuning the oud like this, unless you're really an experienced instrumentalist and you know how to deal with these pegs. Another thing about dealing with oud pegs is that you have to learn how each one behaves. Each one is a bit tighter, a bit looser than the other, and so knowing how they go is really important for getting the oud in tune and being able to work these things. And so that's the best way to hold the oud when you're tuning it. Alright, so that is my two-handed technique for tuning the oud. I'm going to see if there's any questions or anything that you have. Andrew, nice to see you. They need a lot of tension to stay put. Yeah. Yeah, usually when you buy new oud pegs, sometimes they need to be refitted. Depends. Really depends, but I'm glad the new pegs, sometimes they work out really nicely. Carol, nice to see you too. Yeah, oud pegs slipping a lot, so that's really a problem that I have as well. As the season gets drier, sometimes I hear these pops happening, and what happens is that the humidity dries out the peg, and it contracts, and then it just gets loose. So what I have to do is, reorient the peg into the hole and retighten, find the right tension in there. So you just bought an oud. Should I tune each string to a 12 equal temperament chromatic tuner? That's what you should do at the very beginning. But ultimately what oud players do is tune by ear. Generally what I do is I try to tune, let's say, my G string to a G, and then I tune the rest using relative pitch. So here, I'll show it to you here, like this. So in this case, this oud is tuned lower, so it's tuned to an F sharp. And the reason for that is just I wanted to have it in a lower tuning. So here's F sharp. I get it in F sharp on my tuner. So it says 184.7 Hertz, F sharp. Then I tune the next string, let's say the D string, or in this case F sharp, it's a C sharp, so I have to find that. So I have to switch my hands here. So the first string is over here. So this is a bit difficult because you have to be able to hear the reference note. And you got to find that nice harmonious sound. But you can tune it to equal temperament. But let me show you the difference here. It might be hard to see. I'll try to show this on the screen if possible. Okay, here we go. So you can see got F sharp pretty much on the dot. Now, to my ear, this note sounds perfect to me. Perfectly in tune. But the chromatic tuner says it's a bit sharp. So, if I tuned it to the tuner, it's pretty good. My ear is pretty happy with it. But I want to get that sweetest fourth interval. Now I get the other one. Okay, they're in tune. So the tuner says it's a bit sharp. So just do your best. Equal temperament is okay. It's okay, but I recommend to tune by ear. Find that sweet, perfect fourth. Da, da. Then do the same for this string to the higher string. I'm gonna do. I can't do it very well from this angle. Let me bear with me here. Let's see what the tuner is saying for this note. No, almost right on. So yeah, equal temperament shouldn't be too bad. They sound okay. They sound harmonious. You get that da, da. I want it a bit flatter. It's pretty good. So as you go further away from the reference string, you may run into problems if you tune it into equal temperament. But generally it's not too bad. So this is how I tune by ear. Na, na. You see how my all of a sudden as you get that click and then the note jumps up too far? That is the result of a poor nut. The nut, when it's made out of wood and the slots are not the right size for the strings, then you get that jumping. And so that's really the biggest frustration. It's not so much the pegs that are frustrating, it's the poor nut on this instrument. Bone nut is much better, and much more smooth, like on my other instruments. It's a world of a difference to tune. Still, sometimes you get a little bit of jumping, a little bit of clicking, but it's not too bad. And it's got to be fitted well. So you want these notes to be the same, more or less to your ear. Okay, let's continue tuning this guy. So let's see what my tuner says. Saying it's a little bit sharp. You use this string beside it as a reference. Excuse me. Very dry. Okay, I'm happy with that. So the tricky thing comes with this fifth string here. How to tune this one. Usually you just tune it to the bass string, a fourth above. So if this one's tuned to a B, then this one should be an F sharp. You want to get it nice and sweet, nice sweet. Now most people won't notice if you just tune it to equal temperament, but it's better for your ear if you train your ear to hear those perfect fourths, and it'll make your oud playing a lot better too if you don't rely on looking at a tuner each time. So now the oud is in tune. This one is tuned a bit lower than standard tuning. Pretty good. you need to use your ear eventually is because you're putting your fingers down on certain spots, and if you can't hear when you're matching the other strings or playing harmoniously with the other strings, then you're not going to know where to put your finger. You got to find that note, that D. The oud is always keeping you on your toes. Oh yeah, I tune this one to a G or F sharp. Usually I tune this one to an F. So yeah, if you have any questions about that, or about playing the oud, learning the oud, please let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And I want to, if you're not on the newsletter, I want to recommend that you get on the newsletter, especially if you're a beginner. The newsletter link is in the description there. And I want to make sure you get there because if you're on the newsletter next week, I'll be giving some more tips on oud for beginners. And you'll get another one of my techniques, which is called the heavy-handed technique. This is really important for getting a nice, clear sound out of the oud. So happy to answer any questions right now. Just 1 second. I'm going to get you that link. Here it is. I'll put it in the chat. There it is. All right. So, Tamim, you have a question here. The thing that I'm struggling with the most is my fingers touching two strings at the same time. I feel like my fingers are too fat. Yeah, so there are cases where you're gonna be like, let's say you want to play C, B, C, and your finger. You want to keep your finger there, but it gets in the way and you can't hit that open string. Is that what you're referring to? So that requires you to change the angle here of your hand. So if you're playing like this, it's going to mute. If you push your hand forward a little bit, then just the tip of your finger, and you get this ability to, it's hard to see that. So you get that ability to miss the string, playing with the tip. But some of these kind of troubles with getting the fingers out of the way comes with time and experience. It can really take a long time before you get good at doing that kind of thing. So you may need to play, you may need to take the finger away when you play that open string. That's another way of doing it. It's nice if you can keep the finger there and angle it so that the open string here doesn't get affected. But if you can't, then just lift it up. Do this. See, when I hit C, D, I can either angle my finger out so that it doesn't mute it, or I can lift it up. See here, when I go for the G string, I lift up my fingers. That's how they're out of the way. I hope that might be what you're referring to. That's easy, two ways of avoiding muting the string, getting the string out of the way. You don't need to worry about your fingers being too big or too small. Your hand will adapt, and you'll figure out eventually how you need to move across the fingerboard in order to reach the notes. If you keep going through it and you keep persevering, some of these things will disappear by themselves, and your hands will figure out where to go, or figure out how to get out of the way in order for other strings to get the right sound. All right. So should every string be tuned to the bass string or the chorus previous to it? So the way that I go about tuning is I try to tune everything to refer to this G. You could do it, you could choose one string. I either choose this string, D, or the G string, either one. And the reason for that is that they're in the center of the range of the instrument. So it'll be closer, the farther you get apart, if you're using your ear to tune, the more errors you're going to run into. So if you tune everything to a D or a G, so if you want to use D as the reference point, then tune your G, then use G to tune C, and then go backwards, tune D to A, or tune A to D, then use your G to tune the bass string, or this one. This one is usually the same, so they just need to be octaves, right? 2 octaves apart, same tune. Then what you can do is you can tune this string. This is a 5th apart, or if you tune it to a 4th apart, that's fine too. That's another tuning that I use. Find that sweet sound. Da, da, da. Not the peg that's bothering me here, it's the nut. The nut keeps on jumping the note. Found it, got it. Oh, it got loose again. So sometimes what I do is I stretch out the string a bit like this to get rid of any snags. You have to be really patient with it. But what I should do is just replace this nut, get a nice bone nut for this, and just get rid of the problems with that. So yeah, let's see here. Tremolo, still biggest challenge. Yeah, tremolo will take some time. I think just perseverance, doing it a little bit every day. That'll help. So yeah, if there's no more questions, make sure you get on the newsletter if you're not already there. I'll be sharing some insights this week about how to get nice good tone out of your oud playing. If there's anything else you guys have questions about playing or learning the oud, happy to take a few minutes right now. I'll just leave you with a little bit of music. I don't know, Pesar Tala, I don't know where's your question. I didn't see your question there. So if you ask it again, happy to answer. Just type it again if it's there. If it's not there. Okay, so question about Nahwan Taksim. There's a little bit of Nahwan for you. So yeah, resources for playing Persian traditional music. Good question. Yeah, so if you want a book for Persian traditional music, there is Oud Method by Hossein Mansour Nariman. That's out there. Also, if you want to study Persian music, I have my own material that I use to teach Persian music. But Mansour Nariman's book is pretty good. I discovered it only recently, actually. And I don't really like some of the exercises. I think some of them move too fast. For a person who's just starting on the oud, I think they're a bit strange. Some of the technique that he uses, I don't really agree. For example, Mansour Nariman uses the 3-finger technique, so first finger, second finger, third finger only. He doesn't use the pinky finger. So I'm not a big fan of it, of that style, but in terms of his music in general, it's great music for oud and for Persian style. So there is a oud method by Mansour Nariman out there. There is no radif for the oud yet. That's something that Hossein Behrouzinian has been working on, but I don't think he's published anything. The radif for oud is a little bit difficult because the radif was never meant to be played on oud, and so there are a lot of things that you have to adjust here and there when you play the radif. So it's something you got to learn from a teacher. I do have a couple students studying the radif with me, and so those kind of things, we use the ones that are made for tar and sitar. But I have to go through and show, specifically here and there we play this a little bit differently, and whatnot. Yeah, so tar and sitar books work okay for oud. You just have to adjust some things here and there that don't really work. For example, usually you play shur from sol or G. On the tar and sitar. But the best place to play the radif on oud is from A, La. That way you get the full range that the oud can play. So that's very important. Yeah, Mansour Nariman also published radif for oud. Thanks for mentioning that, Amir. I think his radif is based on Marufi's. What is it? Marufi? Can't remember off the top of my head. But Marufi's radif, a little bit different than the radif that I studied. I studied the radif of Mirza Abdullah. And so they're a bit different. Like if I were to take Nariman's radif book and try to read it and study it on my own, it would be quite a challenge because I don't have, if I don't do it with a teacher, it would be hard to really get the essence of it from the notes on the page. Yeah, Musa Marufi, yeah, that's the name. So yeah, that radif is a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with that radif, it's just a different radif. Yeah, so the one that I'm familiar with is the Mirza Abdullah Talai's version, and also Buruman's version as well. But yeah, you have to adjust some things. Alright, let's see other questions here. Just bought an oud. I want to know about, after learning how to string tune, what are the most important 2 to 5 things I need to focus on and learn to have good foundation. So really focus on the right hand, downstroke, and also down up. Get a nice clear strong, look at the angle of my wrist here. See the wind up, how much I wind up before I stroke. That's the basic right hand thing. Now for the more advanced, you want to be able to do subtle movements, so that you can do, for example, down, up on 2 adjacent strings. This is a really important technique. Very important. It'll make your playing simple in the long run. So see how my hand and the risha is not moving so far away from the string, so I can get back and do an upstroke. That's important. Also, learn to sing, and don't be afraid to use your voice. To copy melodies you hear on the radio, or your favorite songs. Use your voice. The voice is very important. The oud is trying to copy the way the voice works, and so using your voice to hum melodies will really support musicality in the way that you approach the oud, because you've got to use your ear ultimately to find the notes, and if you don't use your ear, then you're not going to find the notes. Also, with the finger positions, there's basically 2 positions that you can play most oud music on: the first position and the second position. The first position is where you have 1 finger per semitone, like that. You can hit all the quarter notes as well, all the quarter tones or half flats, half sharps with this fingering too. But at certain points when you need to go higher, you need to shift to the second position where your index finger hits like the D note, A, E, so that you can reach your pinky up to higher positions, and so forth and so on. So most of the time you have to make a decision when to change from second position to first position. And usually we use the advantage of the open strings. When you play an open string, then you have the advantage to move to a different position. For example, let's say I'm playing C major. See how I changed from first position to second position? G is open, so I have the opportunity to shift up, play A with my first finger. This is second position, like so. Now coming down, you can stay in second position, or you can come back to first position. It's up to you. You use that open string as an opportunity to move your hand back. So you have to make choices. There's more than one correct way of doing it, and it's just a matter of making a choice and sticking to that for the context of what you're playing. Usually for like Maqam Nahawand on C, we're going to use the first position most of the time. But when we get up to the high range, we got to move to second position. So then you move back into first position there. So that's some examples of important things. So one is learning how to use your voice to copy melodies. If you can copy melodies, then you have greater chance of transferring that melody that you know in your head and in your voice to the oud, to the instrument. And then the other thing is to pay attention, make choices when you move up and down the neck. That's important. And also pay attention to your right hand. Oud players tend to, the style is to really beat the heck out of your instrument. That is where you get all the sound out. So using a nice cow horn risha can improve the sound that you get out of your oud, especially if you're using an Arabic oud. These Turkish ouds are a little bit more subtle, so sometimes plastic rishas sound really nice on them. As opposed to cow horn here. Sound a bit harsh because Turkish ouds resonate a lot, but on the Arabic ouds, cow horn is the best in my opinion for sound quality, getting the really nice sound out of it. Now I'm beating the heck out of this thing when I'm playing, and it really responds. But I don't have to beat the heck out of the Turkish oud so much to get a sound out of it. It's way more resonant, and it's super loud if I really hit the heck out of it. So sometimes, I switch between cow horn and plastic for Turkish ouds. Sometimes I like the sound better. So yeah, it depends on the music you play too. What oud really suits your style. So yeah. Let's see if there's any other questions. Those are the things that I would look at when you are beginning on the oud. Also, yeah, make sure you get on the newsletter because I'll be sending more tips your way. Let's see here. Yeah, oud teacher can help a lot. Yes, questions about tuning. My teacher taught me to tune fa, la, re, sol, do, 5 strings. That's great. That's completely fine. So for example, fa, la, that would be, so only 5 strings. The old oud was like that. And that's totally fine. The old oud, you would usually have had only 5 strings, and the bass string here would have been only tuned to G or F. And that's what Farid Al-Atrash used. It's great. For beginners, it's great because you don't have to worry about this bass string so much, and you can just focus on where the core technique is, which is, all in this area here on the first 4 strings. Yeah. Is there a good order to watch your tutorials? That's a good question. My tutorials, from time to time, they're kind of all over the place because that's just the nature of YouTube. But I do have some playlists, like oud beginner lessons or oud lessons. Be a good idea to scroll through that and check that out. Also, if you want something more systematic, there's also always the foundation program that I have through my website, which you can learn more about next week. Following the newsletter, yeah. So check out the newsletter. I'll have some advice for you there, but check out the playlists that I have on my channel. That might help. Also, some of the YouTube lives that I've done in the past are really good for beginners because I just go through the basics really from scratch, and how to hold the oud and what to do with the left hand, where to put it. So please check those out, the YouTube lives. But you'll have to go through them because there's just so many of them that I've done. Yeah, so if there's no more questions, That's about it for me. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Like I said, the link is right here in the chat. Be getting some new tips happening next week. And if you're looking to buy an oud, there's always options, resources to buy an oud on my website as well. I'm always open to answer questions if you're looking to buy an oud and you really don't know where to go, what to do to get an oud online or in person. Send me an email. I'm happy to help you find an oud. Here's my email address. So thanks so much for joining me today. Thank you guys. Really nice to see you all here. Thanks for your good questions. And hope to see you on the newsletter. And feel free to email me. All right. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.